Good morning, everybody. It's Bobby Piton here with Preactive Investments. Today is March 12th, 2021, and I just want to do a quick update on how things are going pre-market, as well as what information is coming out that I think is going to impact people's portfolio as well as their financial well-being in the upcoming year. So part of this whole process of me doing these, it's a couple-fold. One is it keeps me intellectually honest with the analysis that I'm doing, because as I'm doing it and making decisions on behalf of clients, I think actually talking it out loud, recording it, creating a record helps me make sure that I'm doing enough due diligence on what I'm about to say, that I'm willing to commit to it in this form. With that said, just because I do commit to it on video, and I'm trying to give some insights and ideas of things you should be thinking about on behalf of your money, please don't construe anything I'm saying as an end-all be-all for any sort of investment advice. Just view it as one little data point that you use when you're making decisions on your own money and your own family's financial well-being. If you're not sure what you should do, please contact a professional. If you don't have a professional that takes care of your money in a manner that you feel is I guess necessary and fair, please consider contacting my company at preactiveinvestments.com. You could fill out a questionnaire at the website, and we're doing newsletters that and podcasts there as well that are related to your financial well-being. There's actually, I think, 3 or 4 podcasts there now, one about financial planning and so forth. With that being said, the economy yesterday, the bill was passed. The $1.9 trillion spending bill was passed on 3/11. Interesting date choice. And that bill, about 30 cents on the dollar, is going to the people that are footing the bill. And, each person that's eligible to receive $1,400 in this bill, when you add that money up, and you look at what new amount of debt we're taking on as a society, the number that we are taking on of debt far exceeds how much we get back. So, it may feel good that we're getting, people are getting $1,400 and they feel better about it. But when the debt outstanding goes up by $12,666 per worker in the U.S. economy, it seems like a pretty lousy deal. And so I think it's a really bad thing. I think something that would have made a lot more sense if they're still concerned about the well-being of the economy and that it's not picking up as fast as it should, is they could have very simply just done a payroll tax holiday. That's it. Everybody, every company, every individual, no Social Security taxes are going to be collected this year, and that would have provided so much money straight into the economy to all the people that are producing and creating, and lifted up and created a lot of different jobs by just the spending that takes place. Right now, the way they're doing it is they're trying to penalize productivity, and they're trying to saddle us with debt. And I'm against both of those things. And with regards to individuals that are still not being employed, I do think that those individuals, there could have very easily been a separate bill for them with regards to making sure that there's some social stabilizers in place for them, especially people that didn't do anything wrong when they lost their job because their industry was devastated. There's a lot of data that can be looked at and can prove that out, but it doesn't seem as though Congress has any interest in using logic. Frankly, I don't think any of these people read these bills, before they go and sign them and pass them into law. I read H.R. 1. I think I'm about 70, 80% of the way through. I didn't finish the whole thing. It's about 300 something pages. It's not 800 pages, folks. It's 330 pages is what I'm seeing if you copy and paste it into Microsoft Word. And that bill, there is no way in the world that Sarbanes, Pelosi, and this other congresswoman from California wrote it. There's no way they wrote it. You look at it, it's way above their intelligence level. somebody wrote it for them. I think we, the people, should know who writes these damn bills. And in fact, I don't think anybody who's elected into office should be able to sponsor a bill that they did not write. They should have to write these bills. Now, I know that sounds like a radical idea, but the U.S. Constitution, with every single amendment that's been passed by 2/3 of every American since this country was founded, if you add up all the language in the Constitution, the rule book for all the rules in this country, it's 31 pages. Okay? 31 pages for our guiding document of how our society is structured. And that is, I think, as a society, I think that's a really good limit in terms of how long each law should be. No law should be over 31 pages, because then why should any law be bigger than the rule book on the creation of every single law? This is the way we take government back from these corrupt Bolsheviks who have infiltrated our government, because that's what they are. They want power at all costs, and they're willing to do anything they can to keep power, and even if it means selling us out for their own short-term benefit. Okay, so the economy might open by the end of, I guess, by the summer. Long overdue. I think a lot of people agree with me. This thing has been a farce. You guys know what I'm talking about. It's been disgusting, trampling on our rights, trampling on the First Amendment, and it seems as though it's been engineered by certain country, and everybody knows what it is. So use your imagination if you don't, because censorship is alive and well in America, and as such, you need to use your imagination when I'm reporting on some of this stuff. 2, Americans might start seeing checks this weekend. Okay, so that's what Yellen said. And Yellen, I guess she's going to be taking over the Fed. I believe. I think she's going to take it over back from Powell. $1,400 per person who's eligible, $12,000 in debt for every worker. Seems like a pretty lousy deal. And there's been no outrage. The media is moronic. They're nothing more than a talking piece for a very corrupt establishment at this point. And even the business channels, I'm not going to mention which ones, they're not doing any justice either by not speaking up against this insanity that we're witnessing all right before our eyes. So that being said, look forward to charging up $30,000 on your credit, or between the past 2 years, you've charged up personally if you're a worker in the U.S. economy. Just imagine if you received, you got charges on your credit card for $30,000 plus, and if you're lucky, you got $4,000 or $5,000 of value, and the rest is you owe it plus the interest rate, folks. So that's how we've been scammed in the past 2 years. Okay, looks like New York might be getting a new governor. It is building steam. The little wannabe Super Mario. I think it's Mario Cuomo, right? Or is that somebody else? Anyways, Cuomo, it looks as though he's up against the ropes, and maybe he's taken out as governor by his own party, which is going to be interesting to see who steps in to fill the void. And Cuomo is someone who's done a lot of damage to New York in more ways than one. A lot of people have noticed this for years now. I think it's really bad when your own party realizes how bad you're screwing up. Anyways, I think that Cuomo, maybe he's the start of other things to come. Maybe the governor of Michigan, the governor of Pennsylvania, the governor of California, to name a few, maybe they'll all be recalled as well. I know Illinois needs to get rid of our governor as well. So this could possibly be a pretty cool thing to watch, especially all the governors that had lied about the data to receive more federal funds. I think that there should be wide-scale investigations across this whole nation for how many states have been milking the federal government, which is, i.e., we the people collectively that represent the United States, and how much money was siphoned off and where it went. Okay, fourth, 10-year Treasury spiked 8 basis points, 0.08 of 1% to 1.6%. That's a pretty big move. As a result, the NASDAQ futures, which are more interest rate sensitive because as interest rates go up, growth rate stocks tend to get hit a little more. And I think the futures are down over 1.5 to 1.6% when I looked at them last. The Dow Jones is holding steady because that tends to be a little more value oriented versus the NASDAQ, which is more growthy. Okay, there's a Bolshevik out of Minnesota, that Omar, who's suggesting that they cancel rent and mortgage payments. Now, this person got into office. I want to give you a backstory. So the United States invaded. I don't want to say invaded. They went in to help supposedly Somalia years ago, and so the United States goes into Somalia for some military excursion, and we have a lot of bad things happen there, and we lost some Americans. There's some movies about it. I think Black Hawk Down is a movie, and for some insane reason, after we go in there and do, I guess, our fair share of bombing, I guess, under the Obama administration, Obama the bomber, he bombed, I think he dropped over 25,000 bombs over his time as president. I don't know if that was over 4 years or 8 years, but Obama dropped so many bombs, and yet they gave him a Nobel Peace Prize before he started dropping all these bombs. So I'm glad they gave it to him on the front end, because he wouldn't have earned it by the back end by bombing 25,000, dropping 25,000 bombs, which each bomb is probably at least $1 million, the way these bombs price. So you're talking about $25 billion spent bombing places. Obama the bomber in the Middle East. Well, Somalia was one of those nations where we were bombing people there, and then Barry, in his infinite wisdom, he brought over about 25,000 plus refugees from Somalia and brought them into Minneapolis, which is a city of 500,000. I ran the math on this, by the way. So 500,000 people, 25,000 people from one country that we were bombing repeatedly. I don't know how many years. I'll have to look into it again. But he brings in all these people, and then next thing you know, we have some radical Bolshevik by the name of Omar who's catapulted into office. Because when you have 25,000 people, you only need 1 to 2, maybe 3% of a population to affect the vote. So you bring in 5% of a people from a nation that doesn't respect the U.S. structure and system, and then you get a horrific scenario like this. And I think this is the playbook of the lunatic left, where they like to bring in these refugees in large numbers from countries that support their Marxist ideology. And so we, the people, need to wake up to the fact that these people coming in from these different countries, they're not doing it for humanitarian reasons. We should look at, if it's truly humanitarian, send them the money. It's the money spent will go much further in their nation that they're coming from than on U.S. soil. They're doing it to rig elections and to win other elections on U.S. soil. We need to wake up to this fact, because then otherwise we're going to have more insanity like this Bolshevik Omar. Okay, the lunatic left yesterday. Some joker who was speaking, which we all know he's a joker. I'm not even going to mention his name. I don't want to mention his name because I think it's disgusting. Over half of the American population, over half, okay, 1/3 of independents, 1/3 of Democrats do not believe in the 2020 election results. And then the Republican number is far greater than 1/3. I think it's probably 75, 90%, okay? So between those three groups, over 50% of the U.S. population does not believe in who's sitting in a particular house in this city called D.C., okay? Who cares what this person says? I guess you can say, well, Bobby, we have to care because he's signing all this crap into law that's going to impact us, which I agree that we have to pay attention for that reason and that reason alone. If, for some reason, there's fraud statutes in this country and this, these fraud statutes that if somebody commits a fraud, all the past things that occurred can also be undone because of that fraud. That's what I'm hoping will happen in certain circumstances, should something occur, that the fraud that was perpetrated will result in all the subsequent actions after the fraud of being unwound. And this doesn't just go back to this current election. I think we should look at that for past elections. We, the people, should look at all the past elections going back 2 decades, and we should examine the vote on every issue to see if it was truly an honest vote, that the people that voted on our behalf weren't, in fact, fraudulently put into place. And that is what I think will truly take this nation back to its core principles. We don't need to reinvent things as much as people say. What we need to do is just execute on the plan that works and has worked since this nation's history, since the beginning of the nation. 2/3 of Americans passed the U.S. Constitution, okay? Period. So we passed the Constitution. This country will continue to expand, spreading the U.S. Constitution across every territory. All the amendments to the Constitution, 2/3 of us had to agree via our representatives in Congress. So those laws represent both conservative and liberal, traditional liberals, folks, not the lunatic lefties, views. Anybody who does not believe in the U.S. Constitution, as far as I'm concerned, is not an American. Let me repeat that. Anybody who does not believe in the U.S. Constitution is not an American. So as such, we should ignore their voices because they are not part of the American experience and the American system. Because if you can't live with what 2/3 of this country's people agreed to as the rule book, not the past 10 years or 20 years, but for the past 240 years, that people have bled and died in battle on U.S. soil across the world to defend these core principles, these Judeo-Christian based principles of freedom and justice for all, you're not an American. You're just here, and you really need to consider relocating to a different nation that supports your insane ideology. Anyways, that's all I have to say for today, for right now, and I will chime in a little later. On that note, the lunatic left, I'm bringing them up because of this joker in the White House, because they're gushing over him. And all I can tell you is they're the ones on that list that really need to get the heck out, because Hollywood is nothing more than a cesspool as far as most Americans know. And it's surely coming to the realization of far more Americans that we should cut off any financial support. Do not watch these people's movies. Do not support them in any way, shape, or form on television, in the media. Block them out. They're false idols. These people are satanically possessed, is what it seems like, and they care more about themselves than the dignity and sanctity of individual sovereignty in this nation. We need to cut them off. The sooner the better. So have a wonderful day. I will chime in later. Thanks.